Hey everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming at you again. So I'm going to do something a little bit different again this time. We're going to be talking about two different movies. That's because I recently watched two separate documentaries. One that I thought was really, really excellent, and the other that I thought was a piece of crap. The two movies are Weiner, a documentary about the political career of Anthony Weiner. That I quite enjoyed, and Michael Moore's Where to Invade Next. So I'm going to talk about Wiener first. Let's get the positive one going. I thought this documentary was fantastic. It was really fascinating to hear about this political figure who had everything going for him. Really seemed like he was on through line to or track, I should say, to really go places even beyond where he was. And then, if you're not sure who he is, he's the guy who accidentally posted a photo of his junk in his boxer briefs on his Twitter, and was subsequently shamed, and it revealed that he was, despite being married, and the woman he's married to is actually the vice chairperson of Hillary Clinton's current presidential campaign. Despite being married to her, that he was sexting with people online like crazy, and so he ended up resigning, and then a couple years later he decided to run for mayor in New York City, and that's where this documentary picks up. He allowed the filmmakers to follow his bid for the mayor, bid for becoming the mayor, I should say. And in the midst of the campaign, more drama comes out. Another person comes forward with tales of sexting with him online, and I guess that's not really the word because sexting is supposed to be texting, but you understand what I mean. And yeah, so like you just see his campaign that was very promising completely unravel, and like you see the toll it's taking on his wife and him, actually he's back in the news just recently, because amazingly enough, yet a third round of these accusations have come about, and this time he's in worse trouble, even though he's not a real political figure anymore, because disgustingly enough, the one picture he sent the woman was him laying in bed with with an erection with his child beside him, which is absolutely revolting. Now the child's asleep, doesn't know what's going on, hopefully. But I mean, the documentary doesn't get into any of that, obviously, because that just happened. But the documentary was amazing, just to get the inside look on it. You can empathize with his wife, especially, and even with him to a degree, despite the fact that it's clearly entirely his own fault. He's a clearly thoroughly flawed human being, but it's also fascinating because, like, they do go into like his actual political career and the fact that he seems to have actually made a difference for the people he was serving, and so it kind of makes you question whether the fact that he's doing these things should affect his career, because, like, he's doing good in the world. It was a fascinating movie. I think it was great. On the other hand, there's Michael Moore's latest movie, Where to Invade Next. All just as a preamble, I do not like Michael Moore. I don't like his movies. I think they're terrible. I think they're well-made claptrap. It's interesting because, politically speaking, there's a lot of things that he's spoken about that I agree with, like the American healthcare system clearly seems to be broken to a degree, when you have people who are severely injuring themselves and not doing anything about it because they don't want to have to pay the go into debt over an injury. That seems, in a modern world, that seems ridiculous. But that's just one of his films. But and I don't like the way he makes his movies is just so dishonest. It's amazing to me. Like any movie of his that I've ever seen, I'm watching it and I'm like, there's things about it that don't ring true, and then I end up looking at, like, researching it and finding out that his claims are completely false, or falsified. Like, for instance, the first movie that made him famous was Roger and Me, about the closing of a truck plant in his hometown, and how he's trying to get an interview with the head of the company, the titular Roger, and how he never gets it. But in actuality, he got several interviews with him. It just didn't fit his story, so he just pretended like he never got it. And for like, that's fine for a fictional film, or even like if he was trying to present his movies as, like, distortions of the truth, that'd be fine. But he's not. He passes his movies off as documentaries about stories that are supposed to be real. The movie though that really got to me the most was the aforementioned Sicko, because he talks, like, it looks at the healthcare systems in other countries, and it looks at Canada's healthcare system. And as a Canadian, like, the picture it presents is just not like I've lived in this country for 34 years. It's just not accurate. Like, he goes to Sarnia, which is a city that's actually quite close to where I live, and he's talking to all these people about how they go to the hospital and they're in like an hour or whatever. And I can tell you from experience that I'm there waiting hours on end for any number of, like, things, and it's just brutal. And then he goes to Cuba, and he basically, like, it makes it look like it's like a medical utopia, but it couldn't be any further from the truth. Like, as soon as I was watching, I'm like, that just doesn't ring true to me at all. So I, like, did some basic research, and like there have been people who've called their medical system like a danger to the well-being of the people in their country, like with people dying because they fell through floors that had holes, and people not getting the medicine that they need. And yeah, they like he shows in that movie that the prescriptions are free, which is true, but they won't give them out. Doing research, they wouldn't give them out because they didn't have the bottles to put the pills in, like stuff like it's just his distortions. And like, the thing that bugs me the most is, like I said, I couldn't agree more that the American medical situation is not ideal for anybody above like that isn't quite affluent, but so, like, there's arguments that you could easily make, but he feels the need to just make these, like, grand sweeping gestures that have no basis in reality to try to support his arguments. And it just drives me nuts. In this movie, I'll be honest with you, I haven't done the research yet, but it doesn't feel like there's lots of times that feel like things aren't accurate. And as a movie itself, it's just poorly put together. Like, it's the story is that he's going to all these countries to invade them and steal their ideas and bring them back to America. And all it is him just going to different countries and being like, hey, look at what they have that's better than us. And it's poorly put together. It doesn't have a through line. The only way in which it has any kind of story is at the end of each of these conversations with various people. He takes out an American flag and plants it, and it's just cheesy, self-aggrandizing garbage. And that's the thing too, is I can't stand, like, all of his movies are about him. He wants to be the center of all of it. Like, why can't you tell stories? Like, why do your stories have to be about how you're this hero for the common folk? I just don't care for his movies. But with that said, I always watch them because I always want to see what he's done this time, and maybe one day he'll change my mind. But he certainly didn't with this one. So if you saw either documentary, let me know what you think. Have a nice day.